In recent weeks, Turkish forces have been reinforcing the border from Bakur, Turkish-occupied Kurdistan, to Rojava, Syrian-occupied Kurdistan. Meanwhile, Turkish proxies have been advancing. The already occupied areas of Rojava, including Afrin, Serekaniye, and Grispi, are now joined by the city of Manbij. However, in the last few days, the YPG has demonstrated heroic efforts in pushing back Turkish SNA proxies, particularly around the Tishrin Dam. The YPG has reportedly even reclaimed some areas on the western side of the dam. The new regime in Syria, which in practice can be seen as an extended arm of Turkey or a new form of the Islamic State, has faced internal problems in the western and central parts of its claimed territory. These issues stem mainly from protests by Alawite and Christian civilians opposing the new regime. All these factors, along with some Western influence in halting a Turkish offensive against Rojava, have surely played a crucial role in the current developments in the region. The question remains, will Turkey eventually play the invasion card in the rest of Rojava, and could the current developments in Syria pose an existential threat to Kurdish-controlled areas? To explore this, we will examine the support that Rojava has from the outside world, focusing on three of the most likely sources. The first is the United States, which since the war against ISIS has been a close ally of SDF forces and Rojava. Although the alliance between the SDF and US forces shifted when Donald Trump ordered the withdrawal of American forces from Syria, effectively giving Turkey a green light to invade areas in northern Syria, which they still hold today. The US continues to support Rojava with intelligence, arms, and protection in certain areas. Donald Trump's return to the presidency has raised concerns once again. He has already suggested that he might remove the remaining US forces from Syria, a move that would result in a significant blow to the Kurds and a major victory for Turkey. He may deprioritize US support for the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, which are predominantly Kurdish-led through the YPG. This could embolden Turkey to expand its operations into Rojava. However, Trump's transactional approach to foreign policy also introduces uncertainty. Some reports suggest that Israel prioritizes a strong Kurdish presence in the reshaped Middle East it envisions. While the historical relationship between the PKK and Israel has been strained, Israel reportedly prefers Rojava's control in the region over Turkey or Turkish proxies controlling all of Syria. It is plausible that Netanyahu might attempt to involve Donald Trump and potentially the Kurds in efforts to counter Iran's nuclear ambitions. This collaboration could be strategically advantageous, with Kurdish-controlled areas providing opportunities for bases and other interests. Speaking of Israel, the second potential ally of Rojava, the question is whether potential cooperation between the two would benefit or harm the Kurds of Rojava. Recently, Israel has been in the spotlight for its significant offensives against Hamas and Hezbollah, which have deeply weakened both groups. Additionally, Israel's operations in Syria have secured new strategic positions in the Syrian mountains, offering enhanced oversight of both Lebanon and Syria. Reports have suggested that Israel may aim to secure a corridor connecting its forces to the Kurdish-controlled areas in the north. This would provide a direct line toward Iran while maintaining control over Iran's previous supply routes to Hezbollah, which passed through southern Syria. While Israel does not have any formal alliances with Kurdish groups, it has historically expressed sympathy for their aspirations as a counterbalance to shared adversaries like Iran and radical Islamist groups. If Israel were to increase its support for Kurdish forces, it could complicate Turkey's plans. Israeli intelligence or logistical aid could strengthen Kurdish resistance against Turkish incursions. This support might include training, advanced weaponry, or cyber capabilities, providing Kurdish forces with a defensive edge. However, such involvement risks exacerbating tensions with Turkey, a country with which Israel has recently sought to normalize relations. Balancing support for the Kurds with maintaining stable ties to Turkey would require careful diplomacy. On the other hand, if Israel prioritizes its relationship with Turkey, it may adopt a more neutral stance, indirectly aiding Turkish ambitions in Rojava. This decision could reflect a focus on broader regional challenges, such as countering Iranian influence in Syria and Lebanon, rather than engaging directly in the Kurdish-Turkish conflict. Ultimately, Israel's actions regarding the Kurds will likely depend heavily on the direction taken by the US and Donald Trump's policies. The last but most unlikely aid would be the Kurdistan regional government in Iraq, which maintains a complicated relationship with Rojava. While the KRG shares ethnic and cultural ties with Kurds in Rojava, it has often prioritized relations with Turkey, its key economic partner. If the KRG aligns with Turkey to preserve its economic and political interests, it could weaken Kurdish resistance in Rojava by limiting cross-border cooperation or support. For instance, the KRG could restrict the flow of resources or fighters into Rojava, leaving Syrian Kurds more vulnerable to Turkish advances. This scenario could foster resentment among Kurds across borders, straining relations within the broader Kurdish community. Recent videos spreading on social media have shown that there is a widespread support from Kurds of Bashur towards the Rojava cause, so there is ultimately no doubt that the current lack of support comes from the KRG administration itself. In the end, the KRG involvement in the cause is mostly unlikely to happen. Instead, it is more likely that they would ignore the cause and thus keep letting Turkey occupy the rest of Rojava, but in some way maintain a humanitarian aid for Rojava refugees. If no external powers intervene, the prospects for Kurdish forces in Rojava depend on their ability to maintain cohesion and adaptability. The SDF has demonstrated resilience in the past, relying on tactics and local support. They might fortify their defenses, implement guerrilla warfare strategies, and mobilize international opinion to pressure Turkey indirectly. However, Turkey's superior military capabilities, including advanced air power and a robust ground presence, present significant challenges. Turkey could exploit divisions within Kurdish factions to weaken their resistance. Internal rifts or competing agendas among Kurdish leaders might undermine their collective efforts, making it easier for Turkey to achieve its objectives. The absence of international pressure on Turkey could also embolden Ankara to pursue more aggressive policies, including demographic engineering to dilute Kurdish presence in border areas. This might involve resettling displaced Syrians in traditionally Kurdish areas, fundamentally altering the region's demographics. The Kurds' ability to withstand Turkish aggression without external support would likely hinge on their resourcefulness and the solidarity of their population. Local alliances with Arab and Assyrian groups in the region could provide additional support, but these alliances are fragile and contingent on shared interests. The fate of Rojava hinges on the interplay of these scenarios. But truth is that nobody really knows what goes on behind closed door. Do you agree with our analysis? Let us know in the comment sections below, and don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for more videos.